he was trying to compromise him and make him like fluid. He said once you compromise your center of integrity, which is your butthole, you become fluid and like nothing. You get all of it.
I started kicking it with Diddy, right? I ran around with Diddy for 2 years, and this Diddy, we never went to the studio one time, but he was like, "Yo, I fuck with your demo. That shit, you know, bad boy. But hey, Playboy, hey, here go a watch, Playboy. Here go a chain, Playboy." I'm like, "Yo, we ever gonna rap?" Like,
just when it seemed like the whole Diddy chaos had hit its peak, 50 Cent dropped a bomb, hinting he might have actually saved Terrence Howard from falling into Diddy's notorious party trap. But the real shocker, Terrence finally spoke out, and he didn't hold back. He dragged several industry names for lacking the backbone to resist Diddy's wild scene, exposing how some even threw away their self-respect just to stay in the circle. Terrence admits he barely escaped before things got messy. And now, rumors say 50 Cent tapped him to join his explosive new docuseries, ready to tackle it off it all. Looks like they're about to blow this thing wide open. And the real question is, who actually gave in?
That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Get punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head. But when you lose your man card, that was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. So it's like achieving don't mean anything. If I get all the Nobel Prizes from doing all of this, but in the process, I have to trade out all of my integrity to do it so that they can stay in place. What benefit is that if I lose my integrity? You got to go in as a principal. Puffy invited me. I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music and he's sitting there. Looking at me. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to, that's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. And that's always been my whole thing, and have lost businesses because I don't bend over in that. Profit off of my name while calling me a liar, then be prepared to stand behind your accusations. Because in the old world, men didn't hide behind anything. When they spoke against someone, they had to speak it with their whole being. And if you're going to speak against me, then use the same courage that it took for me to say those truths. Man to man, eye to eye.
I'm a big fan of your work. When you came in, the first thing I said is the character, Harvey, Borden, from fighting, right? The way you would speak, the way you would move. But this is the first time we saw you talking about you leaving Hollywood, Rob. If you want to play this clip, go for it.
Terrence Howard here. You made huge headlines when you said after you complete these 15 episodes of Empire, you got to walk away for a while or forever.
For good. I mean, everyone keeps trying to tell me, don't say it's forever, but I've spent 37 years pretending to be people so that people can pretend to watch and enjoy what I'm doing when I've made some discoveries in my own personal life with the science that, Pythagoras was searching for. I was able to open up the flower of life properly and find the real wave conjugations that we've been looking for 10,000 years. Why would I continue, walking on water for tips when I...
While you're there.
While I'm there, Dolo.
You're there by yourself.
Yeah. With he has some employees there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So suddenly there's red dots all over your shirt.
Yeah. I'm like, damn, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? I really could. I didn't know what.
Big names are surfacing, even some beloved rappers. But the real question is whether 50 Cent has the receipts to expose the truth about those secret parties and what went down between Diddy and Terrence. People are dying to know. Terrence dropped a cryptic gem during his interview, saying even when he's wrong, he's still right. A wild take. On the PBD podcast, he opened up about the dark side of those elite parties. According to him, a lot of celebrities lost themselves in that world. Once someone gives up their integrity to fit in, there's no turning back. He said that's exactly what happened to many who attended Diddy's events, doing things they thought had no consequences, only to get played in the end, all for chasing fame over staying true to who they were.
Losing out money. You got to take, you're going through so much shit to try and deal with life. You are literally, it's an unhealthy space And so eventually you're going to go too far.
Yeah. Did you see the Terrence Howard thing where he talked about how the man's like, kind of center of structural integrity is his butthole? And he claims P. Diddy was trying to compromise him and make him like fluid. Said once you compromise your center of integrity, which is your butthole, you become fluid and like nothing. You get all fucked up. Yeah, he's a mathematician, so he was saying like the geometry, like the underpinning of your structural manhood.
Like the center of gravity, he thinks is your butthole.
It's your butthole, and once you,
which by the way, I can't prove him wrong.
It's something to do it, man.
Sounds like he's right again.
You say it's Terrence Howard, mathematician,
hustle and flow.
Oh boy,
the hustle and flow guy that's now a super genius.
Okay.
Losing money, facing struggles, it all adds up. You're stuck in a toxic space, and eventually, it pushes you too far. Terrence made it clear. Real men never sacrifice their dignity. He even called out actors who lose their way chasing fame. Once you cross certain lines, you've got nothing left to stand on. His advice? Never let go of your integrity. Hold on to it, no matter what.
There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head. But when you lose your man card, that was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. So it's like achieving don't mean anything. If I get all the Nobel Prizes from doing all of this, but in the process, I have to trade out all of my integrity to do it so that they can stay in place. What benefit is that if I lose my integrity? You got to go in as a principal. Puffy invited me. I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music, and he's sitting there, just looking at me. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to f you. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh. Okay, now I get it. And that's always been my whole thing, and have lost businesses because I don't bend over in that way.
When Patrick Bet David mentioned names like Justin Bieber, hinting that even he might have been caught up in the chaos, Terrence didn't hesitate to agree. He said, you can still see the trauma in these guys. They're struggling to cope with whatever happened, whether it was from being high, drunk, or pressured. They still gave something up. According to Terrence, they need serious therapy to handle it. The trauma from those parties doesn't just fade away, it sticks. For some, it leads to a full breakdown, addiction, depression, and losing their identity. Fame might look glamorous, but the truth behind the scenes is far darker.
I just saw a clip with the actor Terrence Howard saying that Diddy tried to him a while ago when they linked up.
I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at it. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to.
Here's my issue with this, whether that's true or false. Now, for the record, I'm a huge fan of Terrence Howard. I think he's one of the GOATs at acting. I done watched everything from The Best Man and Crash all the way to Lackawanna Blues. A lot of y'all never even seen that film. Why you ain't tell this man why he was right there in front of your face when you felt it at this moment? Now, granted, a lot of females that be victims of stuff, whether they're lying or telling the truth, and some of them, when they telling the truth, they want to say it like years later. They kind of explain why they didn't say it when it happened out of like certain fear and certain trauma or whatever. But men ain't got no excuse. Any on earth try to touch me on some homo shit, and I'm not homo, I'm hetero. My nigga be a problem. You want some weird shit? I'm not waiting years later till you get locked up on some female. That's female. Like, we got to stop this whole kicking while they down.
Terrence even called out how some women in the industry trade their bodies for roles. Sure, they might win awards or score big money, but they lose the dream and their soul. For him, it's not worth it. He said, winning accolades means nothing if you sacrifice your values. You've got to stay true to your principles. But it gets worse. Terrence claimed Diddy tried making a move on him. Initially, Diddy asked for help with acting, then switched to showing interest in Terrence's music. That's when his assistant stepped in, warning him something wasn't right. When Terrence turned Diddy down, he didn't hesitate to share what happened next.
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and he said no consequences when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks asking me to come and teach him wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at it. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music, and he's sitting there just looking at it, like waiting. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to. That's what my assistant said. I was like, oh, now I get it. So now no more communication. Now you notice to be hands off with somebody. A number of producers come in to make the approach, and you threaten to punch them in the mouth, threaten to knock their head off for talking to you like, or looking at you like you're a woman. You know, when you approach a real man about his masculinity, you're going to get a real reaction. It's a difference when a walks in a room and when a man walks into a room. And a man don't take the same things that a will accept. So always be the man in it.
Terrence said Diddy invited him for weeks, asking him to come over as his acting coach. But when he showed up, Diddy just stared. No script, no material, just vibes. Then Diddy switched gears again, asking to hear Terrence's music. Terrence played his tracks, but Diddy remained silent, just watching. Later, his assistant pulled him aside, saying Diddy wanted to hang out again next week. That's when it clicked for Terrence. This wasn't about acting or music. It was about something else entirely.
That was all the people that went to the Puffy party. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Get punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man.
Do it, right?
Yeah.
I know you've been heavy on social media talking about it.
He did it. And I'm the only one who's been vocal about this long before it actually.
Oh, you've been saying this for a long time now. And then no one was, they're just, why is he saying this? And now it's coming out like crazy.
But I also didn't participate. I also didn't go to those parties.
Yeah.
So a lot of the celebrity culture that you don't hear saying anything is because they participated.
But was there a reason you never went to those parties back in the day? Obviously, I know what was going on there, but is there a reason you never did?
I'm just not with all that freaky shit. Like all of the stuff that he's doing, I'm not into that type of stuff. I'm just a little more, maybe you could say basic or normal.
Diddy wasn't the only one to try Terrence. He had run-ins with producers making shady offers, but he stood his ground. He said a real man doesn't compromise his integrity, no matter the opportunity. Terrence admitted he lost big chances, refusing roles and demands that went against his values. When his interview hit, the internet exploded. He was one of the few brave enough to admit Diddy tried him. 50 Cent, who stayed away from those parties, is now opening up in his upcoming Diddy doc.
I don't compromise. I don't play the role. I don't the man. I don't do that because the man card means everything.
You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head, whether they were or high or whatever. You gave up your man card. That was all the people that went to the Puffy parties. I've never seen somebody recover from it. They have their money, but they don't have their dream. They don't have the soul that they started with. So it's like achieving don't mean anything.
50 Cent weighed in on Terrence's claims, sharing a clip from the interview with the caption, "No comment, staying positive, God help us all." But here's the twist. He's flipping the Diddy drama into content for his Netflix doc. 50 turned the chaos into a cash cow, sparking a bidding war, and Netflix sealed the deal. The doc will dive into everything, from Cassie's lawsuit to the shocking allegations. 50's pettiness is on another level. He's even reached out to Terrence to share more dirt. It's no surprise. 50's always had Terrence's back, especially when it comes to Hollywood's treatment of black men and the roles they're forced to play.
I'm a big fan of your work. When you came in, the first thing I said is the character, Harvey, Gordon, from fighting, right? The way you would speak, the way you would move. But this is the first time we saw you talking about you leaving Hollywood, Rob. If you want to play this clip, go for it.
Terrence Howard here. You made huge headlines when you said after you complete these 15 episodes of Empire, you got to walk away for a while or forever.
For good. I mean, everyone keeps trying to tell me don't say it's forever, but I've spent 37 years pretending to be people so that people can pretend to watch and enjoy what I'm doing when I've made some discoveries in my own personal life with the science that, Pythagoras was searching for. I was able to open up the flower of life properly and find the real wave conjugations that we've been looking for 10,000 years. Why would I continue, walking on water for tips when I...
Terrence backed up Taraji P. Henson after she spoke out about being underpaid in Hollywood, saying he wasn't surprised since it's been happening for years. Then he dropped a bomb, revealing that for Hustle and Flow, a film that made over $75 million, he only got paid $12,000. To make matters worse, he still hasn't received any royalties for the songs he performed.
To Paramount or send them a letter.
Are you serious?
I got to send them a letter to say, hey, you guys owe me about 20 years worth of residuals and performance royalties. But I didn't know. I was just trying to pay my rent then. I made $6,000 doing Crash. Crash didn't.
I remember the movie Crash. Yes, that's right. That's right.
The business don't pay actors anything. That's why the strike is going on. Actors are struggling.
Understand how, in your mind, to the average person who hasn't put amount of time that you have put in, credibility after 1 times 1 times 2, 1 times 1 equals 2. How do you come up with that conclusion?
Well, if I was wrong, then they wouldn't have made such a big stink about it. But the fact that I was able to show them with their calculator that because they have 1 times 1 equaling 1,
right,
an action times an action without a reaction, and as a result of it, you get this contradiction with the square root of 2 being cubed having the same value as the square root of 2 times 2, which should say a red flag, a herring right away that there's something wrong with the mathematics, with that being the problem that leads into the distribution of prime numbers, because the number 2, any prime number that you subtract from another prime number, always is going to end up in a composite number. But except with the case of the number 2. That's the only prime number that you subtract from another prime number and you end up in a prime number. Why? Because the number 2 is a composite number.
Terrence also hinted at suing Paramount for money owed to him from 2 decades ago. He revealed he was paid just $6,000 for Crash, a film that went on to win an Oscar. So, the drama isn't just with Diddy. The entire industry might want to brace itself.
I'm just tired of working so hard, being gracious at what I do, getting paid a fraction of the cost. I'm tired of hearing my sisters say the same thing over and over.
Taraji P. Henson's brutally honest and emotional explanation of Hollywood's pay disparity is going viral.
I hear people go, "You work a lot." I'll have to. The math ain't mathin'. Big bills come with what we do. We don't do this alone. The fact that we're up, here's a whole entire team behind us. They have to get paid.
Inflation, equal pay for black actresses.
So 2018 was when I finally got a real quote. And that is the last time that I haven't gotten a raise since then. And each and every project that I have to fight for that.
You still have to fight.
I have to fight for that. Yeah.
What does that do to you?
That's why I'm not excited anymore.
It takes
all of that away. And I know what other people are getting paid.
What do you think that's about?
It's about me being a woman and a black woman. I still don't think that this town respects what black women bring to the table.
After hearing Terrence's story, 50 Cent quickly offered to help, bringing him and Taraji P. Henson to G-Unit Films, promising to pay them what they truly deserve. He posted a clip of Terrence talking about being underpaid for hustle and flow, saying, "Yeah, it get hard." 50 admitted it hurt to hear that, adding he wants the best actors and will pay them accordingly. He even joked about Taraji checking in with Mary J. Blige, who's apparently holding a huge bag.
Who gonna turn down $50 million? Now, I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times. 4 times. Just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I was telling you about. Right. Because P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did.
If you profit off of my name while calling me a liar, then be prepared to stand behind your accusations. Because in the old world, men didn't hide behind anything. When they spoke against someone, they had to speak it with their whole being. And if you're going to speak against me, then use the same courage that it took for me to say those truths. Man to man, eye to eye.
Gotta say no to Diddy. If it's new booty in the building, you know he gonna get it.
Don't take your girlfriend to a Diddy party.
You can take the but he wants you.
50 Cent followed up with a personal post, calling out Terrence directly to hit him up so he could get the money he deserved. No games. With Terrence going public about his Diddy experience and the history between Diddy and 50, the timing is perfect. Fans are hyped, praising 50, Terrence and others for speaking out. But the real question, who said yes to Diddy? Terrence made it clear. Many men in the game gave up their integrity just to stay in Diddy's circle, and some names are already being whispered.
This is extended family. You've been there with me through my ups and downs. Whenever I get in trouble, this is the one I call. It's my strategist right here. This my brother. It's B.I.G.'s brother. Yes, sir. It's Brooklyn's own Brooklyn. I'm always doing a lot of things, man. Most importantly, you know, he had a recital that he has to be at the flute. But I reached out to him and I told him that this right here was important. Bad Boy celebrating 20 years of hits. And this is extended family. You've been there with me through my ups and downs.
From the world of entertainment.
There's only one person.
Oh, go on.
And I call him Sean. That's Jay-Z. We call each other Sean.
Okay.
Yeah. Nobody else could call me Sean.
He's the only person who's Sean approved.
There's not a single person that
outside of family.
That should be outside of my mother.
Okay, just
that should be calling me. Yeah, they should be calling me Sean.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear friend. Happy birthday to you. This is a special birthday for both of us.
Sources say 50 Cent is on a mission to make sure everyone gets called out in his documentary. And the next target, Jay-Z. Despite Jay-Z acting like he wasn't close to Diddy, the receipts tell a different story. Back in the day, Diddy called Jay his extended family and said he was the first person he'd call when in trouble. That's not casual industry talk. That's ride or die energy.
Started kicking it with Diddy, right? I ran around with Diddy for 2 years, and this Diddy, we never went to the studio one time, but he was like, yo, I fuck with your demo, that shit, you know, bad boy, but hey, Playboy, hey, here go a watch, Playboy, here go a chain, Playboy. I'm like, yo, we ever gonna rap? Like, nah.
I was doing it for 2 years.
Yo, but the jet leaves at 5. We going to Miami, Playboy. We going to, you know what I'm saying? We going to New York. We in ATL this weekend, Playboy, pop out. And I was going everywhere with Diddy, and then one day this Diddy, me and Diddy was smoking. He was like, you know what I've been thinking? You belong with Dr. Dre. No, you don't say. But yeah, so Diddy told me that, and before I went to go fuck with Diddy, I went to go fuck with Suge. And Suge had, at this time, if you remember, he had Eastwood, Crooked Eye, Corrupt, and Left Eye. And I felt like, you know, I was young, and I had my whole hood with me. My city was behind me, like Death Row. Right. Why wouldn't you want to be signed to Death Row? It's Pac, it's Snoop, it's Dre, it's Suge. And plus, I didn't give a fuck at that time about nothing. I wanted to do the music, but I was still heavy in the street.
Did you and Puff maintain a relationship over the years, or not really?
I still got a relationship with Puff. Whenever I talk to him, it's always gonna be the same. He ain't never been nothing to me but a good person. I've been around Puff for millions of times, and I ain't never seen, you know, none of the shit that people are talking about, but that's just my experience. I don't know what other people experience, if it's true, if it's not true, or whatever. I just know Puff always been good, a good mentor and a good big brother, and somebody in hip hop that I looked up to for obvious reasons. Outside of the Cassie situation, which, you know, I think they settled that, right? So he had that.
Oh, you settled it quick.
Right. So that means that he owned up to whatever it was that they had.
Well, just to be fair, I don't want to interrupt you, but settling doesn't mean you own up.
I'm not saying own up. I'm saying he took the responsibility to settle something that was in the media that needed to be settled, is what I'm saying.
Called freak offs. Very interesting term.
I've never witnessed that type of behavior. I don't know what a man do in his bedroom or nothing like that. They was rocking together. From what I know. All I know is they both was rock stars, living their best life in a relationship.
Yes, he was very instrumental in that group.
Yes, he was.
So you met Puffy through Jodeci?
I met Puff at I think it was Live Aid. That was the name of the concert in New York. And they were like, yo, Biggie and Puff on the show. I didn't know. I'm on Jodeci wave. You know what I'm saying? I'm really into R&B at this point. I'm, you know, got my roots stuck in R&B. So I'm like, I don't know these guys. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, how I met Puff was Chad Elliott, Dr. Seuss. You know what I'm saying? Great friend of mine, a brother to me.
You're hanging out with Diddy in his mansion in Miami, and Homeland Security rushes in while you're there.
While I'm there, Dolo.
You're there by yourself.
Yeah. With the, you know, he has some employees there. And
yeah.
Stuff. Yeah.
So suddenly there's red dots all over your shirt.
Yeah. I'm like, damn, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? I really could. I didn't know what to think. I didn't even think it was real at first.
Right. Now, you didn't do anything wrong, so you don't get arrested.
Right.
But did they cuff you and everything?
They didn't cuff me. They just, detained me, moved me to an area. Yeah.
Now Jay-Z's claiming, we weren't really that close, bro. But Diddy missed a milestone moment with his kid to perform with Jay. Make it make sense. And it doesn't stop there. During Diddy's 2023 carpool karaoke with James Corden, he said Jay-Z is the only person, besides his mom, allowed to call him by his real name, Sean. That's a whole new level of closeness.